Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's Harmony Grove Coaches Show. I'm Dylan Word. This week, Coach Ernie Horskamp and myself will talk about the big win against Fordyce, and we'll preview this week's matchup against the Lakeside Beavers. So for this break, Coach Horskamp joins me right here. This break is brought to you by the Arkansas Army National Guard. And welcome back, and Coach, huge win Friday night, 60-14. I know we talk almost every week. When you score in all three phases, you're pretty much going to win the football game, and we did that multiple times Friday night.
Can't say enough about the way our guys went out and performed Friday night. Man, the score says enough. Those guys went out and had a great week and finished it off on Friday night. You mentioned scored in all three phases. Obviously, we scored offensively, running the football and throwing. We were able to throw it pretty well, and had to. Fordyce, we were moving the football, running it, but they put us in some situations where we needed to throw it, and then they loaded the box at times, and we were able to throw the ball on first down, on early down. So that helped us. Really got us going offensively. Probably top to bottom, that's probably the best we've played all year offensively.
Absolutely.
Defensively, we have the two scores. The first one, they run that little off tackle play that they're going to run until you stop it. And,
ISO, isn't it?
Well, it's that little G play out of the wing tee, and then Justin Tillery makes a great read on it and makes the play in the backfield. The ball pops loose and it lands right in Caleb Johnson's
I've never
arms.
seen them like that.
And then I guess it just kind of caught everybody surprised. You watch it on film and you see everybody kind of freeze for a minute, and then he just pops loose and scores, and then I guess you could say a special teams touchdown on defense, special teams, whatever you want to say.
It was on a punt of that snap.
They snapped the ball over the punter's head, and we get back there, and that's hustling to the football.
Absolutely.
And I think it was actually I couldn't tell it live, but it looked like when he picked it up, Cameron Hurd's the one that actually knocks it loose, and then Justin Tillery falls on it for a score. So great job by our guys. Friday night. I want to congratulate all those guys, assistant coaches, everybody involved. Those guys did a great job all week.
Absolutely. I know we want to talk about some individual performances as well, but it seemed like it was a total team effort to get that win Friday night.
Oh, there's no doubt, and that's what's going to happen. Fordyce, they've got a good football team. I think they showed that the week before. They come within 1 second of sending that game into overtime with Rising, who obviously is their record says they're probably going to win the conference unless something crazy happens the next couple weeks. So Fordyce has a good team. Sometimes those things we've been a part of that before, been on the other end, been on both ends of that where something goes wrong and it just kind of compounds
snowball effect.
Yeah, that snowball effect, but as we may have snowballed on, but we have to take advantage of those mistakes.
Right.
And that's what we were able to do. They made some mistakes, and we were able to capitalize on all of them.
Absolutely. And the passing game you mentioned is probably the best passing game that we've had all season long. Caleb and Landon, they had a great connection Friday night.
I think we threw for around 300 yards, maybe just a hair under 300.
I think 288 is what I saw.
Something like that. And then, it was through it to, Landon had 150 maybe, somewhere in there.
He had a lot.
He had and a couple of touchdowns. Andrew Taylor and Gabe Johnson caught some big passes for us. Gabe made a good play there. On a broken play, he makes a catch in the middle of the field, kind of cuts back, breaks a tackle, and scores. Those couple of Andrew's catches were that one on the sideline where he taps his toes right in bounds on the sideline. Great job. Had good protection, good throws by the quarterback, and then those guys made some great catches the other night.
Absolutely, and Caleb, he made some plays with his legs as well, to where when the play broke down, he was able to get out of bounds. As a coach, when you see your quarterback do that, that's got to make you happy.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've said it, I'm glad he plays for us.
Sure.
You know, it's great because, you know, everything works on paper. When you draw it up, everything works. But you have to remember, you know, the other teams, they practice too.
Yeah.
And so we played a good team. You know, they were bringing some pressure. And lucky for us, you know, Caleb does a great job at, you know, extending plays with his legs. And what he's really done this year, you know, last year he took off a lot early, and this year it seems like, you know, if he, you know, he'll extend plays with his legs, he'll still run it, but he's still looking for that open receiver first, and then if he doesn't have anything, you know, he'll take off and pick something up with his legs. But you know, he does a great job of extending plays, and you know, and when things break down and they don't go as planned, which, you know, a lot of times it doesn't, that's just the way football is, he goes and makes plays.
Absolutely. So let's flip over to the defensive side, because two guys, in my opinion, had a great night, and that was Peyton Ross and the returning Quentin Jones.
Yes.
They really showed out on the defensive line.
Yeah, they did. And we, you know, a couple weeks ago, you know, I know Coach Chambliss, Coach Woodfield, they really challenged that defensive line because we, you know, as a group, we didn't have our best performance against Rising.
Right.
As a team, we didn't have our best performance against Rising, but those guys really challenged the defensive line, and those guys definitely responded. You mentioned a couple there. Peyton Ross, we knew they were going to, you know, their two biggest plays, what wing teams, you know, they hang their hat on that inside trap and that G play we mentioned a minute ago. And one of them, I mean, the way we were set up defensively, the inside trap is set up to take advantage of, you know, if Peyton Ross, where he was playing, if he ran upfield and didn't do his job. And then the G, that little, they block down and try to kick out our defensive end and try to hit, you know, the Beelan kid inside of where Quentin was playing. So the same thing holds there. You know, they're either trying to wash those guys down or they're trying to take advantage of a mistake they're making, and with their running upfield and not playing their responsibility, and they weren't able to have success on those two. On their top two plays running the football because of the way those guys played the other night.
They played outstanding, and I know it was good to get Quentin back because he's been injured most of the season. He finally got back, and he had a great performance. Yeah,
all those defensive linemen did. You know, mentioned those couple. You know, Brock had a great game. Christian Barnes, Jaden Walker made some great plays in the backfield. But those guys did a great job. And then, you know, seeing Quentin come back, you know, he was actually cleared a couple days before we played Rising, but he was not, you know, being cleared and being physically ready to play are two completely different things. And he wasn't quite ready. And then we also knew we had the bye week coming up and gave us basically 2.5 weeks to get him ready to play. And he responded.
Yes, he did.
There's no doubt. You know, you get a guy that's a returning starter, and you know, and the thing about Quentin is, you know, he may have been out, but you know, he's probably not at the top of his game right now, but you know, he definitely showed, you know, he's so naturally strong.
He is.
Has such a nose for the football, and he did a great job, and I know nobody's happier than Quentin.
No, there's no doubt about it.
You know, to sit and watch him. We all saw him, you know, riding the scooter around for a couple months, and then being in that walking boot, and then getting to come out, and then in a big game like that, your first game back, and then come out and play like that, and he had a great performance.
Absolutely.
Happy for him.
One thing to wrap up on the Fordyce game, the crowd. It was an electric crowd Friday night. I know you said in another interview you wear the two headset, or the two earbuds because you don't want to hear anything, but that crowd was loud Friday night.
We had a great crowd. It was, you know, we're always supported, and then you get in a game like that, and to know that, you know, you're playing an opponent like Fordyce in a game where the stakes are high, you know, about playoff seeding and things like that, and to know you're going to have a crowd behind you supporting you and being loud and supporting your team is a great deal.
Absolutely, and with that win Friday night, we still got to take care of business the next 2 weeks, but it looks like it's going to be a second seed in the playoffs if we can take care of business.
Yeah, well, we've got two good football teams left to play.
Yeah, that's why I say we got to take care of business.
You know, Lake Village coming up, and Barton. You know, Barton played Fordyce to within 1 point. And, actually had a chance to win the game there at the end and missed a 2-point conversion. So, you know, two very talented football teams. I mentioned last week, you know, that, you know, there was actually a three-way tie for second place at that time with us, Fordyce, and Lake Village, and now, Lake Village still, let's see, Lake Village got beat by Rising last week.
Good game.
And then obviously Fordyce dropped their second conference game to us. So we're sitting there in second place right now. We've got to do everything we can to hold on to it.
Absolutely. We'll talk about that Lake Village game coming up. We'll take a quick break and be right back. This break is brought to you by Woodfield Trucking. And welcome back to Coach. This week we go on the road. Our next to last regular season game, the Lake Village Lakeside Beavers.
Yep.
A team that's really come along this season, just like other teams in our conference.
Yeah, they definitely seem to have gotten better throughout the year. I think they suffered a couple of losses early in the year that, if you see them now, you look at those scores, it's kind of surprising. So that's one of those deals where they continue to get better, which, they did have a coaching change. They're still doing some of the things offensively that they did last year, but they've added a lot, so that could have something to do with it. We've only seen their last 2 games on film. That's kind of the agreement. We always just trade 2-game film, so don't really know what happened early, but that would be, I would suspect that, and they just like every team, we feel like we've gotten better throughout the season, and I'm sure they do too.
Absolutely. We spoke in the break just a moment ago. They're a very talented football team.
There is no doubt about it. When you see them, you're going to say, "My goodness!" I mean, they've got great size, similar to what they have some linemen that look similar to those guys from Fordyce. Got good skill guys, and the kind of the complete group. They've got some guys, some tall, lanky guys that can run, that can go catch it. They've got a couple good backs. The Dunbar kid, number 23.
I just spoke about him this week.
He's very gifted. He's about 6'1", 215. Runs the football hard. He does some things that's hard to coach. He's very gifted. There's no doubt about it. So we're going to have to be prepared to play, and they're one of the more talented teams that we've played.
From film that you've watched, what problems do they bring to us, offensive side of the ball for the Beavers?
Well, number one is the size up front. That's always a concern, just because of, it's just like you look at those guys from Fordyce. Lake Village is going to look similar in some of those spots, and you always worry about, if you can't get off blocks or they just lean on you and they get 3 or 4 yards of carry and they keep the ball from you. So then their big playability. I mean, they cause you some issues. If you commit too many people, to their passing game, because they are throwing it quite a bit more than they did last year out of the spread, and if you commit too many people to that, I mentioned the Dunbar kid, number 23. He'll be in the backfield, and he's definitely a threat. So you've got to honor both. Pick and choose your times to when you're going to commit more people to the run versus the pass.
You speak about the Dunbar kid. We can't really just focus on that one kid.
No.
We got to focus on everybody.
Yeah, you're right. You can't just they really hurt Rising with the passing game, and I know people were keeping up with the score of the Rising Lake Village game this past Friday, and I think somebody told me it was like 22-14 in the second quarter, maybe the third quarter at halftime, somewhere in there, and a lot of people were shocked. And, and after going back and watching it, they went down and they actually scored on their opening possession. They were up 7-0, actually recovered a fumble, had a chance to go up 2 scores there in the first quarter, and just kind of the way the game went, they really threw the ball well on Rising, and so they did a couple different things. They're impressive. They'll get guys open. Rising runs a lot of man coverage. They did some things that people say. I know pick routes, supposedly they're illegal, but we all do them. They did a good job of picking off defenders and getting guys open, and then at times they get one-on-ones and they throw it up, and their guys they went and got it. So that's definitely a concern. So they did a good job against Rising. Rising scored 49 points on them, so they obviously moved the football well against them, and but Rising had to work.
For sure.
Lake Village did a good job against them.
Absolutely, and I think I heard you speak that our conference is really one of the strongest conferences in the state.
Yeah.
And it's showing because us, Rise and Fordyce, now Drew Central, Lake Village,
Yeah.
Barton. I mean, everybody's really strong this year.
Yeah, I go back a year ago. Lake Village and Barton, and I would throw us in there too last year. We had a lot of young teams, but it felt like last year, and we had McGee and Rise in the conference.
Yeah, really
McGee was in there
top dog.
last year. Along with Rise, and Fordyce wasn't in our conference. If everybody remembers, they were still in Class 2A last year, smack over. But I felt like our conference last year was top heavy. Between McGee, us, and Rise, and that's the way it kind of played out. And you could look at scores of games over last season. Between those top three teams, there seemed to be a separation. But this year, just from top to bottom, our conference just seems like I think a lot of people thought that it would be similar to what it was last year.
Right.
And then, but you look at teams like Lake Village and Barton and Drew Central that, are so much improved this year that our conference seems so much stronger from top to bottom. And there's going to be a good football team left out of the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got 7 teams in the conference. I mean, there's going to be, there's 6 pretty good football teams. And right now, they only take 5, so there's going to be a good one left out. You look at, I just use Fordyce as an example. Fordyce, right now, they're sitting in 3rd place in our conference. Well, a month ago they beat Glen Rose, who is undefeated in conference play.
That's a really good team.
I think their only loss is to Malvern, and on the road, and they beat Glen Rose by 1 score. But at one point, beginning of the 4th quarter, I want to say it was like 28-6 is what I heard Coach Rogers say.
It was a big difference.
So, they had to hold on. But you look at our conference and the way all of it's playing out, and you look at some of those scores, and I know early in the year, we saw Drew Central on film, and we could see that they were improved. I know just because of their history, some people thought, they're not as good and all that, but I think some people came away impressed. I'm sure people that were at the game with us and Drew Central probably came away impressed with them. They're a good football team. You look at Barton and Lake Village. I mean, those teams, they're really good. And then obviously you've got, of course you've got Rising in there, and a traditional program like that. But our conference is so good, top to bottom, and it's a tribute to our conference. And I know that, teams that are all the teams that make the playoffs in our conference, they're going to have a good showing in the playoffs. There's no doubt. So,
tough matchups.
You look at the bracket. Everybody kind of looks. It doesn't, just what seeds, where everything could play out. We're not one of those people that, we're not the kind of people that go and start putting teams in and things like that. But you look at, your conference matchups, depending on if you're 1 through 5, and I think maybe the 4th place team in our conference may have to play a conference winner. Well, good luck.
Yeah, for sure.
Good luck going to play our 4 seed.
Because that 4 seed is a tough matchup.
Exactly. So good luck to you. So and it may not play out that way, but just by the looks of it, very impressed with the teams in our conference.
Absolutely. So we'll make the 2.5 hour drive Friday night.
About 2 hours, I believe.
2 hours. So we'll make the 2 hour drive over to Lake Village Friday night. Hope to see you there. We'll take a quick break and come back and talk about some junior high football. This break is brought to you by Keithley Heating and Air. And welcome back. And Coach, Thursday night, tough loss, 22-8 in junior high, but we get to come back this Friday and play our final junior high game.
Went into Thursday night undefeated in conference play. Fordyce was also undefeated in conference play. Knew it was going to be a tough ball game, and went out and kids prepared all week, and they did a great job Thursday night. We just came up short. That happens sometimes.
Absolutely.
There's a winner and a loser, and unfortunately we came up short. They have nothing to hang their heads about.
It was a close game for a while.
It was a really good game all the way through. We actually scored first, took an 8-0 lead there in the 2nd quarter, and then right before halftime they catch some tip pass. We go up, they throw one deep, and we break it up, but he just kind of it kind of falls back
right
into his hands, and he scores, and they tie it up at 8 after the conversion. And they were able to, score there a couple times in the second half, and we had some opportunities, but we just came up short. But those guys, they have nothing to hang their head about. Still got one more junior high game. Get to host Lake Village here Thursday night. Really excited about that, and get to send those guys off after a good season, but so far. But we need to finish the year, so we need to go out and hopefully play well again, because those guys have had a great year so far.
Absolutely, and one thing that we've talked about, our junior high, they play to their strengths.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Because after the last couple of years, with all the things that have happened the last couple of years, we really just played our strengths now.
Yeah, we were so explosive the last few years. Some people, you'd see us break long ones. We threw the football quite a bit the last 3 years in junior high. And, this team's just a little bit different. Plays really, really good defense, really strong on the defensive line. We control the ball, and that's what we do. I mean, I'm sure that if we're going to be successful Thursday night, that's what we're going to have to do again. We tell them since game one. Coach Fletcher actually said he knows he sounds like a broken record sometimes, but you got to be who we are. If we get 4 yards of carry, then we're going to take it.
There's
nothing wrong with it, and we don't make big mistakes. They play very disciplined football. They don't make very many mistakes. Play good defense, and when they get an opportunity to break one, then great. We go break one and make big plays, and we have seen those throughout the year. And so got more of a type of team where we really pound the football offensively in the first half, and we've seen it from some of our opponents. We've talked about like Haynesville early in the year, what they want to do, and we kind of had that philosophy. Those 4 or 5 yard runs in the first half, people get tired of tackling because we got some physical guys running the football.
Bruisers.
And a strong offensive line, receivers block well, and sometimes that gets old, coming up and tackling those guys over and over, and those 4 yard carries become 15, 20, 25 yard carries, and that's what you saw throughout the year so far.
Absolutely. So 7 p.m. Thursday night, final junior high game. I hope to send those ninth graders off with a good game. Yeah,
going to get an opportunity to end their junior high season, and those 8th graders, they'll complete their season with them, and going to start moving some 9th graders up and get them an opportunity to get a little taste of high school football at the end of their season.
Absolutely. We'll move those 9th graders up, have some depth there in senior high.
Oh, no doubt.
Absolutely. So hope to see you there Thursday night, 7 p.m., Lake Village in Harmony Grove. We'll take a quick break. This break is brought to you by Woods Place. And welcome back to Coach. 7 p.m. Friday night. The Beavers and the Hornets, big conference game.
Yeah, playoff seeding this time of year is on the line for both teams. Playing a good football team, and it's an exciting time of year. Every game means so much, and as usual, I know our fans are going to travel, even though it's a long trip.
Yep.
Always get so much support, and looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and it was an emotional game Friday night. Big win there. Hopefully we can carry that excitement, that crowd vibe. Friday night to Lake
and that's
Village.
another thing. We can't have a letdown.
That's right.
That was a huge game for us, and emotional win. Played well, and we'll have to stay mentally sharp. Physically, I'm sure we'll be ready to play, but there's a mental aspect to it too, and we're going to have to stay sharp and be mentally ready to play and not have a letdown.
Absolutely. Now, I know we talk about performances on the field between our players and stuff, but there are some ladies that behind the scene works that does a great job with this coach's show, and I just want to give them a quick shout out.
No doubt.
Jashana Davis, Mallory Hickman, Isabella Knight, Kaylee Riggs, Madison Richardson, they do great work with this coach's show, the behind the scenes stuff that doesn't get noticed. Oh,
yeah, those are all great young ladies. I know they work really hard at this, put a lot of time in, and we talked during the break. This is the easy part.
We got the easy part.
They're sitting there doing all the work behind the scenes and putting this together, and that's a quality group of young ladies doing that work too. Do some great work.
Absolutely, they spend lots of hard hours that doesn't go unnoticed, but they do a lot of great work as well. So for Coach Ernie Horskamp, I'm Dylan Word. We'll see you at the game.